All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to do something a little different. We are going to completely peel back those wild, sensationalist tabloid headlines surrounding Portugal's national team right now. You know the ones. We're cutting through all that noise to reveal the absolutely fascinating tactical realities underneath. If you've been following international football even a little bit, you already know the narrative. You've got this towering 41-year-old demigod whose singular, massive ego is supposedly just tearing down the entire architectural integrity of his own team. But as we'll see today, the reality of Cristiano Ronaldo's role in the 2026 World Cup cycle, it is so much more nuanced, structural, and frankly intellectually stimulating than just a simple case of personal vanity. We actually have to begin with a universal truth. The quote goes, "Every great empire eventually faces the same dilemma. The king grows older, but nobody dares tell him the kingdom no longer revolves around him." Now, this is a dynamic that completely transcends sports. It's about history, it's about psychology, leadership, the whole shebang. And right now, this exact concept is literally defining the structural integrity of the Portuguese national team. I mean, why do aging icons struggle so much to give up the center stage? And even more importantly, what actually happens to the collective team when the entire system is built to serve the king?
So the crucial question we really got to tackle today is this. Is a 41-year-old icon actually sabotaging Portugal's World Cup, or is there a much deeper tactical truth at play here? Look, it is incredibly tempting to just point the finger at a massive ego for a team's struggles. It's easy, right? It gives us this tragic hero and a super convenient scapegoat. But today, we're going to explore exactly why this really popular, seductive narrative completely misses the mark.
Okay, moving to Section 1, the Aging Empire's Dilemma. Here, we're looking past those reactionary headlines following the DR Congo match.
Think back to that incredibly frustrating 1-1 draw against the Democratic Republic of Congo over in Houston. We are presented with this crazy, stark contrast. On the left, the tabloid headline is just screaming that one guy's ego is single-handedly destroying a golden generation of talent. But the tactical reality on the right? It tells a completely different story. What we are actually witnessing is a structural flaw in management, not some malicious act of sabotage by a player. The media absolutely loves selling us the seductive story of a tragic hero ruining his own legacy, but the truth actually requires us to look at the managerial architecture, rather than just personal vanity.
Now, all that being said, we absolutely have to acknowledge the optics of the match. I mean, 0 shots on target for Ronaldo. He was constantly occupying the exact half spaces that a player like Bruno Fernandes desperately wanted to exploit. And then, the grand finale, walking down the tunnel to the soundtrack of opposition fans chanting, "Messi." Talk about pettiness only football fans can truly master. It was undeniably brilliant theater, and because the theater was so good, it provided this perfectly pre-packaged, convenient scapegoat for a much wider collective failure by the team.
That takes us to Section 2, the myth of sabotage. We're going to see why self-belief is so often mistaken for a fatal personality flaw.
Because, if we look closely at the actual dynamic inside the camp, this whole narrative of a disruptive, selfish icon instantly falls apart. Think about it. When taunted by fans or faced with a pitch invader during that very same match, Ronaldo didn't throw some massive tantrum. He embraced the invader, walked away, and issued a completely textbook captain's message. Head up and focus on the next game. What this brilliantly illustrates is that we, as fans and pundits, we too often anthropomorphize really complex tactical issues into personality flaws. If the team plays poorly, well, it must be because the star is being selfish. But that simply isn't the case here at all.
All right, Section 3, defining the Ronaldo gravity. Let's look at Thierry Henry's incredibly precise tactical deconstruction.
To really understand what is actually happening out there on the pitch, we have to pivot from personality to tactics. Henry defined what we can call the Ronaldo gravity. It's this almost instinctual pull toward the ball, driven by a desperate, unrelenting desire to score. Now, does this occasionally disrupt the fluid attacking mechanics of the team? Yes, absolutely, for sure. But here's the thing, this gravity isn't some surprise parasite that just suddenly attached itself to the squad. It is an established, highly calculated variable that the manager knows all about and has actively chosen to build the team around.
Just think about this number for a second, 226. That is the number of international caps Cristiano Ronaldo has to his name. Add 5 Ballon d'Ors to that. You simply cannot ask a man to possess the near psychopathic self-belief required to play World Cup-level football at 41 years old and then act completely shocked when that exact same self-belief insists on playing every single minute, right? The engine that makes him appear selfish on the pitch is the exact same engine that built his legendary career in the first place.
Which perfectly segues into Section 4, the manager's tactical gamble. Let's break down the sophisticated calculations of Roberto Martinez.
Because make no mistake, Roberto Martinez is not a hostage to dressing room politics. He is a highly sophisticated tactician making a very specific, incredibly high-stakes gamble. Martinez looked at a squad absolutely bursting with sublime, fluid creative talents. We're talking players like Bernardo Silva, Vitinha, João Neves. Yet he still made the conscious choice to make a 41-year-old striker the static apex of this dynamic midfield. Why? Well, because Ronaldo scored 5 goals in qualifying. His lethal goal-scoring threat remains completely undeniable. The manager made a choice to prioritize a proven finisher over a fully fluid system.
So when you put Ronaldo on the pitch today, you are basically signing a strict tactical contract. Look at what Portugal loses. You wave goodbye to high-intensity defensive pressing from the front, and you lose that hyper-fluid forward line. But look at what Portugal gains. Unparalleled positional magnetism. He constantly occupies 2 central defenders literally just by standing there. And in theory, that frees up massive amounts of space for late runners from that highly creative midfield we just talked about. It's a calculated trade-off.
So let's look back at that DR Congo draw through this new tactical lens. The breakdown wasn't just because a striker only managed to get 25 touches. It was because that heavily praised midfield completely failed to convert their overwhelming possession into vertical, incisive passes against the low block. They were playing entirely in front of the defense. Blaming that result solely on Ronaldo is honestly just a lazy framing of a complex bottleneck where the midfield simply failed to break the lines.
Next up, Section 5, Ferrari Squad, Bentley Tactics. This is all about the friction between modern engineering and classic mechanics. This is the true conundrum here, a glaring stylistic clash. Portugal produces players perfectly suited for a Ferrari. We're talking about a system that demands hyperfluidity, dynamic collective movement, and rapid pressing. But they are being forced to play Bentley tactics. That's a very specific, traditional style relying on old, heavy-set mechanics. It's like having an orchestra where every brilliant young musician is forced to play at the exact tempo of a retired virtuoso. Or imagine a Formula One team towing last year's championship-winning car around the track, just because nobody wants to admit that the technology has moved on.
So where does that leave us? Well, the next big test is Uzbekistan on June 23rd. And the huge question is, can the machine adjust? If Portugal fails to progress deeply into this tournament, it's not going to be from internal sabotage. It will be because the manager insisted on driving his modern Ferrari like a heavy-set classic Bentley. This is a massive intellectual challenge for the management, not some moral failing by the striper. And we are going to see this tested in real time in their upcoming matches.
Finally, Section 6, Legacy and Difficult Decisions, how the greatest players truly secure their place in history.
Ultimately, this whole situation highlights a much broader truth about modern sports, bringing a sharp focus to how the media often prioritizes individual celebrity brands over cohesive team performance. True legacy is secured not by refusing to leave the stage, but by recognizing the exact moment the team becomes greater than the individual. The hardest lesson for any historical icon, in literally any field, is separating personal ambition from the collective good. At a certain point, recognizing that stepping aside is sometimes the ultimate leadership decision, well, that's what truly cements a legend in the history books. And I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. Football has never rewarded nostalgia for very long. It rewards difficult decisions. So, looking ahead, Portugal's greatest challenge in 2026 might not actually be defeating their opponents on the pitch. The real question is, can they find the institutional courage to finally step out from the shadow of their greatest ever player?